Hello everyone, welcome to my course on Post Colonial Literature. I'm your instructor Li Junxiao. I hope by now everyone has downloaded the updated syllabus, alright? Although I'm not going to just speak from or read from the syllabus, but what I'm going to talk about today, a lot of them can refer back to the syllabus. So it can only help you if you have one ready at hand, right? So I'd like to start with the question about the relevancy of post-colonial literature. Why post-colonial literature? Well, over the past few decades, post-colonial literature has gained a lot of media attention and critical acclaims, including winning the prestigious Nobel Prize in Literature and Booker Prize from the UK, for example. And it has become one of the most popular intellectual topics, generating a lot of discussions both inside and outside of academia. So this course will introduce you to the diverse group of literary works that has been characterized by the relatively new term, post-colonial literature. So what do I mean by diverse and who write post-colonial literature? Well, take a look at some of the pictures from the award-winning and award-winning writers who have usually been categorized as post-colonial. This is David Walker from the Caribbean nation of St. Lucia. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1992, and this is Salman Rushdie. You might have heard of him. This is Zadie Smith, our first author on the reading list. Nadine Gordimer from South Africa, Ngugi wa Thiong'o from Kenya, and Hanif Qureshi also on our reading list. Now, they are obviously coming from different parts of the world, and their works read very different, with different thematic concerns, different styles, and they belong to cultures that might look similar but are not totally compatible. So what ties them all together, besides those literary awards, they all come from a background that has something to do with the colonial experience, either as a former colony or as a place that lives through the aftermath of colonialism, or we can say aftershocks of colonialism. So, and they all deal with personally that kind of colonial experience or its aftershocks, and they all write about that kind of experience as well. So this is one of the reasons why this type of literature is particularly relevant and important in our times of global connectedness. I'd like to also point out two figures so as to put things in perspective and context. The first number is 3/4. And I'd like to read a quote from the book, The Empire Writes Back. It is also listed as one of the supplementary works, critical works, that can help you better understand the literary works. Okay, so more than 3/4 of the people living in the world today have had their lives shaped by the experience of colonialism, end quote. This is from The Empire Writes Back, page 1. Okay, the second figure, 85%, What does that refer to? Well, at the height of European colonial expansionism between late 19th century and early 20th century, over 85% of the Earth's landmass outside of Europe had been colonized by one European colonial power or another. So put these two together, one can even make a case that the modern world as we know it had been shaped or reshaped by this kind of colonial experience. And these are really historical facts, not fake news, by the way. Right? So, but even with these historical conditions that definitely have legacies or effects on the modern world, one might still ask this kind of question. And I quote this question again from The Empire Writes Back, and by the way, you can look at the book jacket. So this is about a very important but difficult question, and I don't want you to answer it right now, but I hope you would think about this question as you read more novels and or other kinds of literary works under the umbrella term post-colonial literature. So let's take a look at this quotation. Why should post-colonial societies continue to engage with the imperial experience? Since all the post-colonial societies we discussed have achieved political independence, why is the issue of coloniality still relevant at all? Right? End quote. Now, of course, this is a fair question to ask, and the authors of this book also did their best efforts to address this question. Right? Like I said, you don't need to really rush to any answer or to any conclusion. But there are two suggestions I can give you at this moment. Right? The first is about the influence of colonial experience. Right? The colonial experience can also influence our perspectual frameworks. What do I mean by that? Okay, this is the way you perceive, recognize, and know about the world, right? The world around you, your presumptions, right? Your way of looking at things, right? For those who have lived through the colonial experience or its aftershocks, then that might become a lasting legacy that still has some effect on how they deal with contemporary world, right? So if I can give you a more concrete example, I can point to some of those very commonplace preconceptions about the backwardness of the former colony and how there's this kind of very common assumption even among those who have lived through colonialism that they once they have the opportunity they would rather go to the former center of the former empire, places like London, for someone who lives through comes from a former British colony, right? It might sound a little bit surprising to some of you, but it is actually quite prevalent even in our times. So this is one of the examples that I can give you, and so I just like to ask you to take this difficult question as a guiding question or point of departure from which you embark on your intellectual journey and search for better and possible answers throughout readings, right? Especially through the literary texts that might dramatize the situations in question. And here's another example that can pertain to the question I just raised. This is a quotation from Zadie Smith's White Teeth. This is the first novel we're going to read in this class. Okay, so the narrator tells us at one point that they, referring to the characters, they cannot escape their history any more than you yourself can lose your shadow, end quote. So without further explanation, I'm guessing that many of you can immediately grasp the relevancy of this quotation to the previous question. So the history has been haunting the characters, you can put it that way, right? And how and why are some of the questions you can ask yourself when you get into the details of the novel, right?